Hello everybody and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Yes, welcome back everybody. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the movie Krampus, which came out in 2015. When a dysfunctional family's Christmas celebration goes sour, they soon find themselves under siege by a dark holiday spirit that punishes those who have lost their festive cheer. Obviously, on the channel, I've been covering all the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, and then there's about this empty week in my ZakIsCinema schedule here where I was like, oh, there's not a lot of new Christmas movies really coming out this year. Seems kind of depressing. So I really love Christmas. I really love horror and scary movies. So I'm like, oh, let me just look back on some movies I may have missed or have not seen in quite some time, like this movie with Krampus, and rewatch them and give you guys and my beautiful viewers my thoughts here. So if you're lonely and have nobody to talk to about movies but love talking about movies, well, you have found the right place here, and consider joining here at ZakIsCinema. Spoilers ahead, of course, you've had 10 years, so let's jump into the review section here, starting with the positives or just the things that I really enjoyed about this movie. And honestly, when I started watching this movie, I wish I had went back to 2015 ZakIsCinema and slapped him upside the head and told him, hey buddy, it doesn't matter if they're turning Christmas into horror. It's actually really cool because watching some of these scarier horror-themed Christmas movies, I feel like it's such an untapped market where you get so much centered around Halloween. You know, there's a couple more around some other holidays, and I feel like Thanksgiving and Christmas are perfect ways to introduce different celebrations, different cultures, different lores, different people's lores, and especially Christmas, I feel like is just such an untapped market where I feel like there's a bunch of shit movies and very few good, scary Christmas movies, and I'm very happy to say that this is one of the good ones here. And I think most importantly, what this movie does to help make it stand out in that Christmas vibe and where you could watch this on Christmas is it really sticks with the Christmas themes and the holiday themes and vibes, where I feel like a lot of horror movies centered around this really only use Christmas and the snow and the holiday really in the foreground or part of the setting, and it doesn't really tie into the story in any meaningful way. However, in this movie, the first 20 minutes is really all about Christmas and the horror and scary anticipation of the holidays, the overwhelming anxiety-riddled nature that is having distant family members come over that you're more required to see rather than really wanting to see. I feel like it's a simple setup that a lot of people can definitely relate to, and I feel like with ZakIsCinema's family here, I heavily related to the anxiety, uncomfortable anticipation of having to see family that you sometimes just feel like it's a requirement and can't really be yourself in front of. It's just such a uncomfortable feeling that you feel like you have to do, but you get kind of frustrated that you have to do it. It's a perfect setup for a horror movie like this, and having a bunch of unwilling participants have to work together here. And I feel like this movie really highlighted that feeling, especially in the first 20 minutes, the first act setup. It really showcased a holiday celebration that feels more like a required performance rather than enjoyable company. And I feel like for myself, especially as a younger ZakIsCinema here, I feel like I really related to the character of Max when in the beginning he's kind of begging his family and almost breaking down at the Christmas dinner when his nasty, mean cousins are reading his letter to Santa, and it's this really sweet, heartfelt thing of him wishing his family could get back to how they used to be, and he just starts breaking down, just begging and wishing that Christmas felt like how it did when he was younger. And I think it just really hit me in this emotional way I was not anticipating, of recognizing and realizing as I'm getting older here that unfortunately Christmas feels like this sometimes, and Christmas gets less exciting when you grow up, and throwing this horror edge into a movie that is already making me think about this was just a perfect setup here for me. And I love the simple setup. Sure, maybe the movie could have used some more in-depth lore, because I think Krampus is a very interesting lore, very interesting backstory, an interesting creature, but I almost kind of appreciate its simple setup with Krampus getting involved into this small town here where Max rips up his Christmas letter to Santa, throws it out to the window, and then you immediately see it levitate up to the sky. There's this dark, scary cloud that starts hovering just over the family's house, and this big storm starts to approach. Everything gets darker, more grim, and more scary, and then the power goes out. So I love the initial setup that invites this evil version of Santa Claus into the movie, and I really love that we get the introduction to Krampus very early on. I think literally within those first 15-20 minutes, we don't have to wait until just the third act to get to him. And I love the first scene we get with Krampus, and it's one of those scenes that has always stuck out to me, and that I remember the first time I had watched it, especially with its cool sound design. I think this was a time where my family kind of set up their own little makeshift home theater in the basement, and we got these bigger speakers, and I remember the introduction of Krampus and how I was scared that my speakers were gonna break when I first watched it, and I got a very similar experience when I was watching it just the other day here. We get this cool scene of the character of Beth, who is the sister to Max in the movie, and she is walking around town to see her boyfriend, and then the storm starts to get much more significant. It gets much more dangerous out. The movie gets much more darker, and it turns and transforms into this horror setting, and we see Krampus from a distance in the shadows arrive on someone's rooftop, and then starts to chase Beth by leaping and jumping across homes as he's getting closer and closer to Beth. And like I said, the sound design in this scene is incredible. I adore how just loud the movie gets with Krampus, and the storm. It just, to me, makes Krampus seem like this much more imposing threat just with the sound design alone, which I think is an incredible aspect when any movie can pull that off. And I didn't remember how funny this movie really was and how it really blends well with this horror comedy that they're going for. And I like that it isn't traditionally quippy like the modern Disney and Marvel kind of quips, or when I say quips, people probably cringe because they're thinking of modern Marvel movies. But I feel like it was from that time right before Disney kind of patent their types of humor and quips that I feel like you see just in every single movie nowadays. I think in this movie they do it right, where it's simple, funny lines that really stand out to you, and when they don't, or maybe a joke doesn't land, it just kind of keeps moving on and doesn't drag too much attention to it. I think there were some funny lines, especially with Howard, the guy from the Office, and Tom as they're driving through the storm in his Hummer, and Howard just mumbles to himself as they're driving through the storm, like, global warming my ass, and just the way that he says it made me really laugh. And as some other presents from Krampus gets dropped off at the door, Howard and his wife are lugging them in, and they're from a poor side of town, not as financially stable as the family that we're following, and as they're bringing in the presents, they're complaining about not getting free stuff, and all the free stuff is handed out by the Democrats, and the family is complaining about not cooking ham for dinner, even though they're coming over for free food, and starts asking the family, like, why is there no ham? Did you guys turn Jewish or something? And it just reminds me of these snarky comments you'd hear at these family gatherings that are really funny, and I think the jokes really landed for me here. Not all of them do, but I would say the majority of them, and I kind of forgot how funny the movie really is. And I really like how we don't just stay trapped in the home, even though I feel like that premise could have worked of having this whole family trapped in here. Like I said, we get an early scene with Beth running away from Krampus. I like that we get a lot of outdoor scenes with Tom and Howard and the rest of the family trying to find Beth, and later trying to escape and getting attacked and chased by Krampus as he is destroying ways to get out. The storm is getting worse. He's destroying Howard's Hummer. So I like that it kind of makes the movie feel bigger, even though it's mostly in one location. And I really like how the movie almost kind of makes up for its lack of deep mythology and lore around Krampus, but kind of introduces some of the other non-Krampus evil beings being there. Like, we get this great attic scene that I totally forgot was in the movie, with this incredible practical effects of this Jack-in-the-Box character that I have in my thumbnail here, and he's literally eating and swallowing a kid with this amazing practical effects up in this creepy attic. We get this cool looking creepy baby doll character that's all practical with wings as it's jumping and flying and attacking our characters, and we get this creepy teddy bear almost mixed with a gremlin with a bigger mouth just attacking and biting characters. And even though I wish the gingerbread characters were more practical, the CGI is forgivable and it kind of adds some levity and humor to it. I kind of wish they went more practical with it, but I enjoyed their addition as well. So we don't just get Krampus, we get Krampus and his whole army here. We even get some evil elves joining in on the mix. Like I said, with the evil elves, I feel like that's a perfect example of how this movie continues to up it, because it really could have just focused on Krampus and been an enjoyable movie, but it kind of elevates the movie a little bit as we get all the evil elves just busting through the windows of the home. They end up stealing a baby and run out of the home with it. So I like its dark, twisted nature, and it's not afraid to push it a little bit, but still keeping that PG-13 rating, so it's good for a whole family to watch, especially around the holidays here. And again, with the practical effects, I feel like they make Krampus look really good. The CGI when he's outside leaping from home to home, it's, benefited greatly that it's in darkness and in shadows and in a distance, but Krampus looks incredible, and I like that they hide him in shadows, or you hear him coming down the chimney a lot, but they save his face reveal and his full body reveal. That sounds weird talking about Krampus, but body reveal towards the third act, so they don't over show him, but they don't underutilize him, if that makes sense. I think they found a really good balance there. And truly, I forgot how much I really like this movie's ending and appreciate how dark and genuinely creepy the ending of this movie. And it's not afraid to leave off on this dark note where Max all of a sudden wakes up after he falls in that Krampus lava pit. And when I was first watching it, I totally forgot the ending here. And I'm like, oh, was it all a dream? Does he just did that final wish just really work and they're all going to get out of it? But then you could tell he's still in this trance or dream sequence. Everyone's obviously overly nice. It has this glossy kind of feel to the movie here, so you could tell something is kind of off. We get this outside zoom shot of the family being trapped in one of Krampus's snow globes as he's just putting it in the shelf, and as it keeps zooming out, we see all these other snow globes of probably thousands and thousands of families he's done this to before. So I like that this family didn't get an easy ending here. The deaths actually mattered, and now they're all trapped together in some sort of Christmas Krampus purgatory. So I like that the movie didn't pull its punch there and really left you off with this dark and grim ending that I really appreciated. But yeah, let's jump into my mixed aspects for the movie. And I'm happy to say that these are, again, mostly nitpicks for me. I feel like for the couple of Christmas movies I'm covering this week leading up to Christmas, I've been very, very positive on. So very happy to share that experience with all of you guys. And these are mostly nitpicks. I really don't have a lot of negatives. I'm sure other people have negatives, but I genuinely had a great time revisiting this. A couple things in my mix where I get that it'd be pretty unbelievable if the grandma in the movie, I believe Ami or Omi, I get that would come off as so unbelievable if she were to reveal what was going on to the family too early on. I doubt any of them would really believe her and we'd end up in the same situation, but she knows everything about Krampus and she had her experience with Krampus, so I just don't understand why the grandmother wouldn't reveal that earlier on or do more to try and help her family here. She knows the most about Krampus, and as soon as Howard and Tom get attacked and come back, she still doesn't reveal anything. She warns them not to go, and then they come back and she knows what's going on but doesn't, and just remains silent. Like, she literally waits until one of Howard's sons is dragged up and killed by Krampus through the chimney to then reveal what's going on. So I just wish maybe that happened earlier on so she could reveal earlier on. It didn't make sense for her to kind of wait so long to do that. I think the only reason was to make the movie in its full feature length here. Even though I'm very positive on the movie, love its over-the-top funny nature, and really love the Christmas and Krampus stuff that we get in the movie, especially in the attic scene. I feel like that's when the movie really peaks for me, but I can't help but think that the movie maybe should have had more of that kind of vibe and nature and more of those scenes kind of sprinkled throughout. I just wish it was a little bit more kind of out there, even though it really is. I can't help but think that the movie could have done a little bit more, done some crazier things, and maybe even pushed it to that R rating, if that would help. I can't help but think that maybe there could have been a little bit more they could have done to really just make this over the top bloody and crazy, and at least much more enjoyable for me. It's great that this could be a great family movie, but even despite that, it's in my mix here because I still appreciate it for what it is. I just wish maybe it did a little bit more, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I feel like that kind of sets it up to do another Krampus movie where you can go that full hard rated R in a theatrical release. And I can't help but think, even with the ending with all the snow globes, that there's a bunch of different stories you could tell around the Christmas season. I mean, imagine how creepy and cool a rated R period piece movie of Krampus and one of his adventures ripping apart a town would be. I hope we tap into this sooner rather than later, because I think that would be really, really cool here. But I don't have any just straight up negatives with this movie, because overall, I really do think this is a fun, dark fairy tale adventure of a Christmas movie that has some good humor, great practical effects, and creepy monster moments. It's a perfect watch for the holiday season, and I think one of those movies where it shows that there is so much more you could do with Christmas and horror and blending them together, because I'd love to see more of these types of movies here. So for my rating for this movie is, I have it as my top of the line rating. It's a movie I'd like to own and buy on physical media. Wouldn't mind paying the full price. I doubt now it'd be full price anyways, but if I found a cool limited edition slipcover or steelbook, I'd love to add this to my collection, because I could see this being a yearly rewatch for me moving forward here. So you guys have my thoughts here. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate, and even if you don't, guess what? Just like with Better Watch Out, you too can watch this movie and enjoy it. Let me know all your thoughts and feelings on this movie down below. Did you see it when it first came out? Are you a fan of it? Do you hate it more than me? Do you have some more concerns with the movie, or maybe you're even more positive? I'd love to hear if your thoughts have kind of changed over time with this movie here. So let me know all that information down below. That's about it. I appreciate anybody watching my videos. It means so much to me. So thanks again. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.